Yo, want to give you some exercise feedback. Keep in mind this is an accumulation of videos I've seen thus far, so it might feel like it's a lot, but it's really not, and it's pretty nitpicky. There's nothing glaring that stands out. So the first thing I mentioned about the cyclist squat and the Smith machine, given that that bar is attached to tracks, you don't have the freedom to kind of adjust yourself, position-wise. So doing the Smith machine is fine when it's the only option, but of course I'm gonna ask if you could try to get a barbell as often as you can. Now, with that said, just make sure that when you do set up your cyclist squat, that the plate is going to be a few steps, maybe 1 to 2 steps behind you, right? And then essentially, when you get set up to go, you'll take about a step backwards. Now, when you do your squat, the ideal range of motion is going to be to try to get as low as we can. And elevating the heels should help with that a bit. Now, you may want to try to simply use little to no weight and work on the range of motion of going deep. With that said, when there's mobility restrictions, we simply do the range of motion that we can while keeping the back nice and flat, the heels on the ground, and being able to be challenged with the loading that you use. Squats are different shapes, different sizes. Not everybody's going to be able to get all the way down. So keep those things in mind, and then I'd love to see another video coming up. Okay, so moving on. With any kind of row that you do, particularly any kind of bent over row, we want to get to as close to a kind of horizontal position with the torso as possible. So as an example, the split stance bent over row, whether you're doing alternating or not, I want to see you get like a nice long stride. See from this position, a nice long stride, and then you're going to be challenged not to round your back, right? So I'm really kind of leaning over this leg. So the more upright I am, the more I'm going to end up using my upper trap, which I don't want to be doing. So I'm bent over, but I'm always keeping my back horizontal position in check. The other thing is I like to see people row not to their shoulder, but to their rib, okay? This ensures that you get a lot more lat and a lot less trap. So again, I'm thinking row my thumb to my ribs rather than rowing to my chest. That is also the case with if you're doing a seated cable row. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm not shrugging, all right? So that is with the row. Now, with the push-up, I saw for the bench push-up, that looks great. This is just a helpful tip, not anything that I saw that needed to be adjusted. But basically, when you are doing a push-up of any kind, start to think of it as, how can I hold the tightest plank possible? That means squeeze your butt, squeeze your core. Once you have the tightest plank possible, you want to think about, okay, now I'm going to move that plank through a range of motion. Okay, so the push-up is just a plank that moves. So squeeze your butt, squeeze your core, and then go through the range of motion. Sometimes when we do push-ups, we think, okay, this is an arm movement. My upper body has to be strong, but really the core and the glutes have to be strong first, and then you take that position for a ride down and up. Okay. Other thing, this is really just a little bit nitpicky of me, but when you do a suitcase deadlift, and maybe the video didn't show this appropriately, but for the suitcase deadlift, we want that to be essentially on your side, okay? So we'll have that kettlebell go right to the outside of your foot, keeping everything in alignment, okay? Basically to the heel, sit back, and come up. I believe I saw you going out in front, which is okay, but for the suitcase specifically, we'll want to be directly to the side. Now, for the sumo deadlift, and any movement basically, and you do this pretty well, I just want you to be aware of it, but anytime you do deadlift of any kind, just make sure that the chin stays tucked in so that when you move, the neck does not move, okay? So I like to think about imagining that I'm holding a tennis ball between my chin and my clavicle here. All right. So I'm never really looking forward, because if I'm looking forward at the bottom of a deadlift, I know that my neck is arched. So I want to stay tucked in, and I'm looking like 4 feet, 3 feet in front of me. Then at the top, sure, I can see in front of me, because now I'm neutral from the standing position. But once I'm here, that position changes, okay? So chin tucked in. That includes push-ups, by the way. Chin stays tucked. Otherwise, I'm doing like this, or you can't really see me, doing like this. Chin tucked. Neutral head posture. Okay, moving on. We have for the burpee. Okay, this again is sometimes limited by how long is somebody's legs and the demand of moving into position, dynamically. That can be really difficult. But I think something that really helps is jumping into more of a squat. So, if you find that the jump position's challenging, that makes sense. Because when you have to jump and you jump to your toes, that's really uncomfortable. So what I want you to try is to jump to the outside of your hands, like this. You're replacing your hands with your feet. So you're gonna bring your feet up to where your hands are, okay? Or in line with. I'll show you from another angle, okay? I'm gonna jump. Now I'm wider. Makes it way easier to jump to a standing position. Little jump clap. Again, right to my feet. I wanna land with my feet flat to the floor, okay? You'll notice that I'm basically burpeeing into a squat. Now, another thing to keep in mind, a burpee is a controlled fall. So step one is to squat down fast. Boom. That's what a burpee is. It's a squat to my palms. Squat to palms, shoot the feet out, control the fall. So you don't have to do a push-up of any kind, all right? You're just controlling the fall. And then you're rewinding it. You can kind of warm up like this and then shoot the legs up, little jump clap, okay? Controlled fall, all right? And you're strong enough to do that because you've got decent push-ups, all right? Let me know if that makes sense. This one's really easy. For those pull-ups, to develop strength, even though this makes them 10 times harder, make sure elbows extend all the way, okay? Oftentimes, it's way easier to stop here, or I should be thinking, okay, lower down and stop here, and then pull up, but we wanna lower down and get full elbow extension, lock it out. For rowing, cardio rowing that is, you're doing really well with rowing form, but we wanna keep the chain from flopping about. Best way to do that is you'll see 2 screws on the side of the rower here. Keep the chain between those 2 screws, but let me make it even simpler for you. Think about this. When I'm on my way back, you want to think about scratching the tabletop with your fingernails. Scratch the table, and then knuckles under the table. Scratch the table, knuckles under the table. What makes the chain shake is that we do too big of a circle, okay? And then the chain that you can hear flops around. So instead you want to imagine like a table that's about 1 inch high or 1 inch thick, whatever. Scratch that table, knuckles under. This way, that chain's not flopping up and down. Makes for a lot smoother of a ride. All right, that's under 10 minutes. Mission accomplished. Love you. Bye.